Hello, friends. Welcome back to another episode of the Why I Stay podcast. This week, we've got a Stay Power episode. Just a quick episode to help you stay on the covenant path and maybe experience the gospel in a new way that you haven't quite thought of it before. So today, we're talking about how to have peace now. How can I have peace now? And the reason why I'm doing this episode is for me, because I go through my ups and down days, and I want an episode of these things. I want these things to remember to come back to for myself. So I also hope that this is going to be helpful to you too. And I think it will be. So let's get straight into this. How can we have peace now? First question I want to ask is, how much control do we have on our circumstances? And does that correlate directly with our inner peace? Do our circumstances dictate how much peace we can have? What's your automatic reaction? I think I would say, oh no, my circumstances don't dictate my peace. But if you actually record what's happening on a day-to-day basis, yes, my circumstances do correlate with my peace, because I am not practiced at finding that peace through Jesus Christ when life is hitting me. So this is what I want to do today. Is I want to offer 3 ways that we can have peace now despite what our circumstances are. Why is this important? Because I think unceasing turbulence in our lives, feeling pain and not having any hope and not being able to turn to a source of peace or let that peace from Jesus Christ come into our hearts, that leads us away from Jesus and our covenants. Instead of embracing him and following him, we turn away from him and go seek for relief in other places. And of course, that relief is never lasting. Never. This is why this topic is so important. Okay, so let me tell you a story about my family. Growing up, we would go to a place called Knott's Berry Farm in California. It's an amusement park with a lot of rides. And there's one ride that I had to take. It took some convincing to get me on this ride. It's called the Supreme Scream. And there's a lot of rides like this out there. It takes you straight up, you're strapped in, and you're on a pole, pretty much in a line of seats with your friends and family next to you. You go straight up the pole, so high in the air. Supreme Scream is 312 feet into the air. And so you can see everything from up there. And you get up there and it kind of clunks when you set into place. And you just sit there and the wind is blowing on you. Birds are probably flying past. And when you're least expecting it, or as I'm sitting there anticipating this, I hate this feeling of dropping, it just drops you. It's straight down, drops you to the back towards the ground, and then bounces you back up, and then you kind of ride it up and down a little bit less and less and less until it brings you to a stop at the base of the pole again. Me being a warrior would take forever to get convinced to get on this ride, and then I would get on the ride and I would think, what have I done? Why did I choose to get on this ride? But once you're strapped in, there's no getting out, right? Like once you're on it, there's no escaping it. And I realized on this ride one time, I think when I was around 9th grade or so, that I think that if I grab tight and if I'm worried that I could somehow prevent my demise at some point or the scary drop that's coming, that if I could just squeeze hard and clench tight, that I would be able to prepare myself for what's coming. And what I realized is that actually the opposite is true, that I would have a lot more fun and be really more ready for the drop if I just breathe and I let go of thinking that I have any control over this, because I don't. You know, once you're 312 feet up in the air, the ride is going to function how it's going to function. There's no stopping it from doing a great job and performing well, and there's no stopping it from having a horrible accident where we all tragically pass away. When I realized this, I realized there's nothing I can do, and so what should I do? The circumstances are not going to change. I am strapped into this ride. There's no changing that. What I can change is how I embrace the ups and the downs. And if we're willing to do a little bit of thought work, a little bit of mind work, and turn our lives over to Jesus Christ, see how I'm blending this analogy in right here, we can learn to be grateful and have peace all during the ups and the downs, the great views and the scary drops. So in this April of 2023 conference, Elder Anderson gave a great talk called "My Mind Caught a Hold Upon This Thought of Jesus Christ." And I love to read this quote from his talk to you. He says, "My prayer at this Easter season," and I would say anytime, "is that we will more consciously shape, strengthen, and secure this preeminent thought of Jesus Christ in the chambers of our soul, allowing it to eagerly flow into our mind, guide us in what we think and do, and continually bring the sweet joy of the Savior's love. Filling our mind with the power of Jesus Christ does not mean that he is the only thought we have, but it does mean that all our thoughts are circumscribed in his love, his life, his teaching, his atoning sacrifice, and his glorious resurrection." So if we think about our lives and our ups and our downs, how can we see them through this lens of hope and through ultimately peace? Alma the younger talks about his mind catching hold upon Jesus Christ, and he was in the depths of despair. He recounts his happenings with this verse. "Yea, I say unto you, my son, that there can be nothing so exquisite and so bitter as were my pains. Yea, again, I say unto you, my son, that on the other hand, there can be nothing so exquisite and sweet as was my joy." And as I'm thinking about this and as I'm putting it together and thinking about how can I have peace when I just am so worried and caught up in thinking about what is my future? How can I make the things that I want come to pass? Why is nothing working out for me? I realized these 3 points. So one is I am in control of my actions and my thoughts and my actions, not the outcomes. 2, the bad and the good are necessary. Embrace them. And 3, because of Jesus Christ, there will be peace later. And if there will be peace later, I can feel peace now. So let's start with number 1. I know in whom I have trusted. That's 2 Nephi 4:19. Yes, we know who we've trusted. Vanessa Quigley said in her episode last week that pain minus hope equals despair. Where is the hope? Hope is easy to lose hold of. It is so slippery. And it's not Jesus' fault that we don't feel hope, but it's our decision of where we focus our hearts and our thoughts, just like Elder Anderson said in his talk. The God that we have trusted never promised us that this would be easy, right? He never said this is going to be amazingly beautiful for you all the time. We want it that way, and we want him to want that for us. But what I've come to realize is that God is going to give me experiences that will grow and shape me, even if they are so painful. But pain is not a problem unless I lose hope. And where can I anchor my hope and find peace? In Jesus Christ. Turning my thoughts back to him. I'm only in control of my thoughts and my actions. I am not in control of the circumstances around me. And as soon as I realize I have to let go of control and let God, just like Vanessa said last week in her episode, but God, he can do these things for us. We can lay back and relax and breathe and remember that he is the one who's in control. And if there is something painful we're going through, it's because we need to learn something from it, and we can be sanctified by it as long as we stay yoked with Jesus Christ through our covenants. Number 2, the bad and good are necessary. Embrace them. So in 2 Nephi 9:6, it says, "For as death hath passed upon all men to fulfill the merciful plan of the great Creator, so death comes to fulfill a merciful plan. There must needs be a power of resurrection, and the resurrection must needs come unto man by reason of the fall. So we need a resurrection because of the fall. And the fall came by reason of transgression. So we get a resurrection because of a fall, because of transgression, and because man became fallen, they were cut off from the presence of the Lord. Wherefore it needs be an infinite atonement." We need an infinite atonement. And we'll talk a little bit about that later. Do we believe this? In 2 Nephi 2:11, it talks about how there needs to be opposition in all things. Do we believe that we really do need this opposition? And how can we learn to want it? Why do we fight it when we know that it's necessary? This is the chasm that I've been working in. I believe God. I believe in him. I know that he can save me. And I just get angry that he's not. I'm impatient and sad and frustrated that he isn't taking my pains and my problems away in the timeline that I want them to. My friend Rachel was talking to me the other day and saying, I think the problem isn't that we don't have a problem believing that God could save us. We have a problem with his timing. And that struck me so hard. I do have a problem with his timing. And if I have a problem with his timing, what does that mean? That I don't fully trust him yet. And that I need to know that his timing is going to allow for the bad and the good, the ups and the downs of the supreme scream we call life. Those are necessary and we should embrace them. Not saying that, oh, I love pain, I love trials, but I love this opportunity to come closer to Jesus Christ. And number 3, because of Jesus Christ, there will be peace later. And if there will be peace later, I can feel peace now. This struck me while I was sitting in my Suburban after taking my girls to school. I came home and I parked and I thought, I believe that Jesus Christ will make this okay and better for me in the future. And then the thought came to me, because of the Spirit, if it's going to be okay later, why not feel that peace now? There's something called looking forward with an eye of faith. My husband Steve does eye of faith exercises, saying things, positive mental affirmations really about I am this, I am that, saying what you would like to be in the present tense. I have peace. You can say that now because of what you hope for in the future. We can see with an eye of faith, we can see our life and our problems through an optimistic lens. If it will be then, because of Jesus Christ, it is, because his atonement is infinite, like we were talking about before in 2 Nephi 9:7. The infiniteness of the atonement of Jesus Christ extends forwards and backwards and can bring peace to your life right now. So if at some future date you will look back and be healed of the worry and the pain that is happening to you now, that you're suffering now, you can have the peace that Jesus will bring then, now. And it's about letting him into your life and realizing that because you have anchored yourself with him through covenants, that he will make it okay. And you don't have to suffer as much now. You do have to feel pain. You do have to go through it, but you are with him. Jesus said, take up your cross. He said, follow me. He didn't say, take the easy way out, escape, don't try anymore. He never said any of those things. He said, do hard things. He said, pick up heavy things and hold them well. Follow me. And where did he go? He went to the Garden of Gethsemane. He was hung on a cross. But where is he now? After all he went through, where is he now? And that's where we want to be, right? And even if we can't be there with him now, we can say, be with me now, and he will come to us. We say, please be with me now, and he says, always. Forwards and backwards, up and down, he will be there with us. So how can we have peace now? How can we use this today in our life? What is the application of this doctrine of peace and hope? 1, remember, we're in control of our thoughts and actions, not our circumstances. And 2, God knows, and he wants us to know that the bad and the good are necessary. Embrace them. Having bad things doesn't mean that God doesn't love us. It means he's pushing us to become more like him. And 3, because of Jesus Christ, there will be peace later. And if there will be peace later, I can feel peace now. And these things I know are easy to talk about, but as you are going through difficult things in your life, I hope you will come back to some of these applications of the gospel of peace and hope that Jesus brought to earth with him. And through his atoning sacrifice, we can be healed. And that healing could start now. Even if it doesn't look like the healing that you're hoping for, your growth, your strength, you're becoming more godlike as you reach for him and stretch your soul. That is part of the healing process. And that's the beauty of it, right? So future Lindsay, I'm telling you now, have hope. Choose hope. If you fall into despair, it's because of your thoughts and actions, Lindsay. You need to take control of your thoughts and do positive things and think positive things and bring to pass much righteousness. Press forward with faith. Okay, future Lindsay? I know I'm going to come back to this episode. I'm going to need it. And I hope that you have enjoyed it as well. Please share it with somebody who might be going through a difficult time, and share it with yourself again in the future when you need it most, if this was helpful to you. All right, my friends, I love you. We'll see you next week, and thank you again for staying with us. The Why I Stay podcast is a faith-based podcast exploring the lives and experiences of members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. This podcast is not produced or endorsed by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, but we do love that church. All rights reserved. And a great big shout out to Fast Sounds from Pixabay for the amazing and jammin' intro-outro music. Thanks, guys.